responsibility lies with both the union government as well as with the state government. So the electricity boards were entirely with the control of the state, and the union government also formed certain power utilities. One, of course, the Central Electricity Authority, which had the legal powers to approve the power plants, transmission projects, or the major, of course, distribution was left to the state. And the important in this area during this time is the extensive, a good part of this extensive network was developed. A lot of villages were put on the power map, and the agriculture started using the power. The utilization of power became very dominant in agriculture due to various policies, and while the agriculture was benefited greatly, the power sector suffered on account of that. The demand one reason is the demands were increasing, and the gap between the demand and supply also increased that way. The total government control has resulted into a sort of intrusive control going into the details. Projects took a long time, and also the tariffs were non-commercial. Often political determination was the result, and all the electricity boards became commercially weak or almost bankrupt. This was the situation. Once they become commercially weak, they could not add to the capacities. They could not meet the demand. The load shedding and power cut, whatever they increase, huge time. This was the situation. And during this time, one thing was that the government of India also started organizations during these periods, like NTPC, also NSPC, and of course in the nuclear side, Nuclear Power Corporation, and many other central utilities started power generation, which was earlier totally it was with the state governments. That was the situation up to 1991. Then our economic liberalization started in 91. Then the government very seriously thought it is not possible to fund the projects through the budget, and state electricity boards and organizations have become very weak financially. So there is necessary to permit the private sector in the power generation. So the power generation started with the bank. Of course, it ended tragically also, the Enron experiment, and we had some 6 fast-track power projects were approved on MOU basis, based on the capital cost basis with the foreign investment. Though fortunately for India, all were not implemented. A few of them were implemented and got into serious problem. And then the government, after having burnt into that, they thought it is not the job of the government, it is some regulatory independent authority is needed to regulate this area. It is not possible for that to go for the government agreement and signing and all will help us. So at the time, the government appointed many committees, many eminent people advised the government, and government also studied in detail the regulatory framework in the different countries, how it is operating, particularly the US model, the California model was also one of the main important. And because many lessons were also learned from what are the difficulties faced in that, and then started. But then again, we did not have that much of political muscle or mustering to push through a comprehensive way. But then again, an act was, that is Electricity Regulatory Commission Act 1998 was formed. It was not a very comprehensive act, but a good beginning was made forming the regulatory commissions. And the most important thing, government by a policy, by legal framework, distance from the tariff fixation. Earlier we may be knowing that the Electricity Supply Act provided the powers to the, in respect of central utility, the powers to the Government of India to decide the tariff. In respect of the state, the electricity boards had needed the approval of the respective state government. Then it was felt it is not a question of tariff fixation. Much more needs to be done for the developing this sector. So a comprehensive act was needed. A lot of discussions were there and concurrence of the state governments were needed because it was a concurrent subject. After that, the Electricity Act 2003 was enacted in the Parliament and then notified. The objective of the Act, as stated by the Act itself, is to consolidate. There are various acts were there. The electricity related to so many notifications and all. They wanted to consolidate so that there is no confusion on that. And then promote competition. In fact, this is the first time the government itself talked of competition in the electricity industry. Otherwise, the idea it was only somehow you have to supply energy. That's the first time you have thought about it. Another important is to protect the consumers. First time the electrical industry thought there is a consumer who also needs to be satisfied. That was one of the objectives. And then to rationalize and ensure transparent tariff policies. That was another objective. And the promote efficiency in the industry. As I mentioned earlier, the investment in the sector was lacking. So the modern power plants could not be put, large investment could not be made. Even the power plants which required modernization or whatever, that could not be done. In fact, you can say there were power plants in those days were operating at 25% plant load factor. Of course, a few of them are still there operating. Then we promote development in the electricity sector. The development, what is the future needs, how to project those development has to take place. This is also one of the objectives of this Electricity Act. The Electricity Act created a two-tier regulatory mechanism. One is the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. Second is State Electricity Regulatory Commissions in different states. It was also provided that if the two states want to have a combined one, it is possible to combine have a regulatory mechanism also. The Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, it had the mandate. One is to regulate the tariff of all the central electricity undertakings, except of course, nuclear doesn't come under that because that is governed by a separate act. All the other power stations, all the tariff, all the central undertaking where the Government of India owns more than 51%. And all the transmission utilities, which are where also investment is more than 51, the tariffs will be regulated. And all the power stations which are supplying power to more than one state, also as well as the transmission lines which are carrying the power from more than one state, also will come under the direct jurisdiction of the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. It also empowered to adjudicate all the disputes and other mechanisms. There are a number of other powers are given to them. Then the one appellate tribunal for electricity was formed. As an appellate authority for appealing against the orders of the CRC as well as CRCs, and the civil courts were barred from entering into any of such things. And only High Court can writ jurisdiction they can come. Otherwise, after the appellate tribunal, the appeal lies with the Supreme Court. Then the Act also provided the Government of India should come out very clearly what is the policy. Because once you are expecting large investment, the investor would like to know what is the policy of the government. Because it is a huge investment, how the sector is going to develop, what is going to be the policy. So it is necessary for the government to come out with a policy. So accordingly, the national electricity policy as well as the tariff policies were framed. These policies were framed in consultation with the Regulatory Commission. That is, the Government of India has to publish that after consulting the Regulatory Commission, which clearly mentions what will be the policy of the government towards the power and also the tariffs, or what are the general policies, by that it will be there, it will be regulated, so that the post trading needed the licensing. The licensing is done by the certain CRC. If it is interstate, the CRC will issue the license. If it is within the state Regulatory Commission and they will issue. In fact, it's the first time any licensing activity has been given up by the government to any regulatory body. Right? Which is not true in whether it is a telecom or any other thing. The government is still retaining the powers only in respect of electricity. The licensing power is rests with the Regulatory Commission. Then the national asset. And everybody has got a right subject to certain conditions and procedures, have got a right to use this. Open access, it only means a consumer at Hyderabad, if he wants to buy power from, say, Jammu Kashmir, of course I am putting one example because it doesn't extend, automatically doesn't extend to Jammu Kashmir. Say Arunachal Pradesh, you are entitled to buy the power, and all the power transmission company and distribution companies are duty bound to agree to the transmission, subject to, of course, levying whatever the charges. Again, that charges will be regulated by the respective Regulatory Commission. This was because the whole idea was that there should be free flow of power from the all segments wherever the surpluses are there and where there is a shortage is there. Then the transparency in the power tariff and subsidies. It is not subsidies, it is subsidies actually. That is where the various consumers get subsidies. That subsidies has to be very transparent. How much you are subsidizing one set of consumers. That Act prohibits that you can't favor discriminate any subscriber. But a class of consumers on certain declared grounds you can do it, but it has to be very transparent and it has to be declared. Then the consumer redressal procedures were to be enacted. It has to be very clearly notified. It has to be done. And the legal status for the captive power plant. The captive power plant and cogeneration plants were also recognized in the sense, I have a plant in Hyderabad, I can put up my power plant, not necessarily my adjacent compound, which was the earlier thing. I can put in a coal belt and this will continue. That may be lying in a different state, it will be still a captive power plant for me. So I have a right to get that power transmitted to me. So these rights were provided in the Act. And the respective commissions became the custodian for enforcing such rights. What was the impact of all these things after the formation? The Regulatory Commission, CRC, has developed and published detailed procedure of finalizing the regulations and procedures for tariff. Whenever we frame a regulation, we first prepare a draft or a sort of thinking paper, and then we circulate, we put it on our website, give it to the various interested parties and get their feedback. And then based on that, we prepare a draft. Then the draft is again circulated and invited, and all the, where anybody can participate and convey their views. So after hearing all those only, the regulations or even the tariff fixation has to be followed. Even the tariff fixation procedures are, say for example, the NTPC wants the power tariff to be fixed. It is necessary for it to make an application in the prescribed format, and it has to be published it will be put on the website of CRC as well as the NTPC, and we also send to all the respondents and all the people or any public has got a right to come and present their views in the CRC court, and after taking into consideration, we do it. Not only that, all the suggestions which are given, anything not accepted, we always give the reasons why this could not be accepted. Detailed papers are presented apart from that, so that absolute transparency is maintained in the fixing that. The total accountability we are able to maintain by this transparent procedure. Another important thing is the multi-year tariff. Because the power companies again or commercial companies, they have to mobilize huge money for the investment, adding up the capacity. So the bankers will ask for a next 5-year balance sheet projections and other thing, what will be the tariff, what will come, as well as the consumers of power also should know by that. So we always issue a multi-year tariff. Currently it is a 5-year tariff we are publishing, so that there are no regulatory uncertainties in this regard. And also in the tariff regulations also, we give the logic and reasoning so that people can predict how the tariff also will move in future, so that absolutely there is no uncertainty, so that it will facilitate future investment from that. CRC, they have also issued certain orders as a consequence of these things. One is that the ABT mechanism, which I briefly mentioned in the morning. ABT is only means availability based tariff. What we have made is, one is the grid. This is basically to maintain the grid discipline. The 50 cycle is the legally accepted cycle in India, and the power has to be supplied in that cycle. So accordingly, what we do is, it's very difficult to maintain exactly on that. We allow certain variations. Within that, they have to operate. One is the tariff mechanism as far as that is concerned. Every generator, every consumer in the sense, not directly, it is only the companies, and the distribution companies, they have to give the draw schedule for the next 24 hours with a 15 minutes cycle, and accordingly they have to adapt to that. In respect of generators, we allow a variation of 1%. In respect of the distribution companies, a variation of 5% is allowed. Beyond that, they are not allowed. They are penalized by commercially, they have developed a mechanism depending on the frequency and frequency basis. The frequency band, what we have announced currently is 48.5 to 50.5. So if you are overdrawing what you have declared, say I am a generator, I have committed to do certain amount of generation. If I don't do it, I fall variation beyond 1%. If the frequency is say at 50 exactly, I may be penalized just 2 rupees per increase. But if the frequency is at 48.5, currently I have to pay the penalty of 10 rupees per kilowatt hour, whatever is the shortfall. And the same is applicable for the overdrawal by the respective thing. Because 48.5 in the grid is in a very critical condition. So overdrawal cannot be done. In fact, we don't allow 48.5. Anything in the 49, it comes immediately, the mechanism will start and people will be asked to the load shed and they have to do that. And we have this system, though introduced for the purpose of grid discipline, but it has become a short-term market also, electricity market also. People within that band, they regularly overdraw. It only means they buy power at a higher cost. If at the market, whatever be the frequency, 5 rupees, 6 rupees also, they buy. Subject to that, not crossing that boundaries. What we call that UL mechanism, that is unscheduled interchanges, that is what we call. It notifies the unscheduled interchanges, the rates and other things, that is being, it has to be, every week it has to be settled. In fact, this mechanism has been working. Wherever the people are, there is an interest and other commercial mechanisms strong. If somebody fails more than 2 weeks, we call them up to the commission and make them penalized and then do it. So far it is working well, reasonably. Though some overdrawals are there recently, beyond that is fine. And we also approved and published the grid code. See how the various people who are operating, who are connected to the grid, has to maintain the discipline, how they will act in various situations, emergencies, or how the drawals will be controlled, how they will be. A detailed code has been made and it has been implemented. Then the tariff norms, as per the provisions of the Act, the Central Commission will prepare the norms for the generation and transmission, and the state and the same will be approved by the, adopted by the respective state commission. So what is determined as a benchmark for power generation and transmission, it also gets extended to the within the state also. Then the trading regulations. We have published detailed trading regulations. The licensing conditions we have put, people have to have a certain experience, certain minimum net worth. In fact, as on date, we have issued 42 licenses for the interstate trading. All are not very active, but people are very much interested to get a trading license. That we are not restricting the number or anything. I said it is up to you, and if the consumers are happy with you, go ahead. Except that the trading margin we have so far can be cost, because it becomes a huge investment. So then the commission also agreed to give in principle approval for the capital cost, so that the investor can be sure that this capital cost will be approved by the commission once they complete the project and then come for tariff fixation. Similarly, various state regulatory commissions also have issued various regulations and orders on the performance standards. They have issued various orders. Different commissions have issued the standard of performance, maintenance of the capacitors, the frequencies or voltage, how the substations design. Many areas they have issued that. Then again, the commission's various things fixed also that T&D losses are the major issue in India, or the what you call technical or commercial losses. It is a fact of life, it is happening. So various commissions have taken a view that it should be brought slowly down. So there are targets have been given to the various utilities. So fixes have been made and it has worked very well in some places, like Delhi and other places. It has worked very well. Then the tariff rationalization. Here tariff rationalization means directly consumer affected various groups. It also has been done. Again, the transparency has been maintained. The subsidies, now as per the provision and notifications, the state government want to give free power or subsidized power. They have to, the commission have to declare how much money they have to pay from the budget resources that are declared in advance, and they have to pay, state government have to make a provision in the respective budget. So the people also know which segment of the consumers are getting the how much subsidies, and the encouragement from power from the renewable. I mentioned earlier. There is a specific provision in the Act for the CERC as well as SCRCs to encourage power from the co-generation as well as from the renewables. It is also permitted to have a tariff preference to the energy coming from the renewables. But various state regulatory commissions have fixed certain minimum purchase obligations from the renewables. In fact, we have agreed in the Consumers Forum by 2010, at least 10% of the energy in all the states should come from the renewables, which ought to be slowly increased to 30%. And the consumer redressal procedures have been notified by the state commissions, and each utility has been mandated that they will keep a consumer redressal mechanism, an officer designated, and also keeping the disposal of how the consumer grievances have been addressed. Now the reforms which are started by this Act and regulatory commissions, they have to go a long way. Yes, good beginning has been made. We have to do that. Whole objective was, you see, the basic objective is to improve the transparency, to some extent has been achieved, to efficiency and competition. The efficiency and competition can be done if more people enter into the system. Today, the electricity boards have been, yes, many states it has been made generating company, transmission company, and distribution companies. But again, they all work under the same umbrella, different institutional framework, but the umbrella is still remain there. So the competition aspect is less. The Act provides more than one licensee, a distribution licensee in the same sector, so that you are a consumer, you are free to buy from any of the power supplier using the same network. So we have to progress towards that area. It will take some more time. And currently, many states have not even implemented the minimum the reforms. Tamil Nadu is one example. Also Kerala, Bengal, many areas it has to be done. Otherwise, the benefit of whatever I anticipated is not reached the sector there. Currently, another problem is that there is a huge gap between the demand and supply. At that time, if you open it out, whether the existing people will exploit the situation. The power sometimes is sold at the rate of 8 rupees or 9 rupees. See, the monopoly or exploitation need not be done by the private sector alone. It can be done by the private public sector also. I can tell you an example of that. Under the hydel policy, some of the states where the hydel projects are there, they get a 12% free power. Enabling them, basically the logic for that power is the area, the local area is disturbed, the state is affected because of natural resources, and the money should be there and it should be utilized for the welfare and all. But many of the states are simply trading it and utilizing it without the benefit going to that. But those all have to be corrected. Yeah, in fact, the exchange rates are also as much as 10 rupees also depend on that selling the power. Somebody who is in a really badly needing. Because if you have a forum, you have got sellers and buyers, both are states, both has to come and complain. So because of the gap between the demand and supply is huge today. So we are really working on that, how we can keep the price of the power under check. It doesn't cross beyond certain boundaries, even in that. At the same time, we leave it to the market forces to the extent we don't interfere in the market to that. So that is the main this thing. And in many places, the consumer grievances are still remain unattended. So that also, through the various forums and other things, we are trying to do that. So this is only a summary of what I wanted to tell you about the regulation framework. Still it is evolving. I would say it is very much in there is a good legal framework. There is the Electricity Act 2003 is a good piece of legislation providing all the framework. So, but only the question of implementing it in letter and spirit. I hope it will come to you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Very fascinating presentations. What I would like to do is, after this we do, since we have about 15 minutes before we break for tea, is we will collect the comments and questions, and then I'll give an opportunity to both the speakers to respond to those which they think can be responded to in that time frame. So the floor is now open. Any comments, observations?
I just want to ask.
Hello. Please introduce yourself also.
Yeah, I'm from